cat jumped into Emily's arms, and Emily forcefully grabbed Stanley's hand and powerfully spoke. To Barbara's house. The floor vibrated below their feet, and a powerful sweeping clap occurred. In an instant, they were at the steps of her mother-in-law's house. Stanley had little time to be flabbergasted by what had just happened because he immediately heard terrifying screams. Barbara was screaming for her life. Stanley tried to release himself, but he was unable to move. Emily wanted Stanley to suffer a bit first before she released him to find and attempt to save his mother. Inside the house, Barbara was at the bottom of the stairs. She was very much alive but bruised. Barbara missed the final 2 steps of the stairs and had fallen while trying to escape hundreds of spiders that appeared in her bedroom. There were so many spiders on her legs that they began to form a blanket. They were slowly climbing up her torso. Because she had pajamas on, she was not yet enduring the full extent of their many bites. She did, however, feel immense pain from the fall. Her left ankle and the golf-sized knot on her head were throbbing. Barbara swatted the spiders, fearing that their full penetration would get through her clothes. She carefully tried to get to her feet without putting her full weight on her ankle. Emily released Stanley and he ran toward the door. Mom! Mom! Mom, open the door. Are you okay? Stanley? Stanley, is that you? Barbara began to weep. Up until this very moment, she was fully expected to find a way out of the situation on her own. When she heard Stanley's voice, it melted her. She still had a resolve to fight and live, but when she heard Stanley, Barbara realized she did not have to do it alone. Someone had come to help her. While that in and of itself was an overwhelming and powerful thought for an older lady who lived alone, Barbara also cried because she was far too far away from the door to let anyone in to help. I can't reach the door. Stanley could hear his mother's voice breaking. He knew her well enough to know that she was trying to be strong and that she really wanted to wail like that time she laid his dad, her husband, to rest. She stayed strong during the funeral, during the repast and visitation. When all the family left and she thought she was alone, she allowed herself to cry. She thought she was alone. Stanley walked in and saw her vulnerable. He had never seen her cry before or since. She was always upbeat, optimistic, encouraging, and steady. Please help me, Stanley. Move as far away from the door as you can. Okay, I will. She began to pull herself along the rail with all her might to move as far as she could away from the door and from the expected rotation and swing of the door. Stanley kicked the door once and heard a cracking sound. Stanley, please hurry. Stanley kicked the door a second time, and the door shifted in the frame. He switched feet between kicks because each club on the door sent a shock up through the soles of his feet up to the base of his lower spine and hip. Each kick caused an unimaginable jolting sensation. He kicked one final time, and the door opened. Inside, Stanley saw hundreds, if not thousands, of spiders. He also saw his mother. With no regard for the pain and bites that awaited him as he tried to rescue his mother, Stan ran toward Barbara. He pulled Barbara up onto her feet and then partially pulled and guided her onto the porch and laid her down. As Barbara laid on the bare porch, Emily and the cat approached to comfort her while Stanley tried fastidiously to close the door to prevent spiders from coming outside of the house. In the process, Stan sustained several spider bites. Still in significant pain, Barbara managed to speak to her rescuers. I'm so thankful you both are here. I don't know what I would have done. Stanley and I were thinking of you and decided to surprise you. We were talking about love, life, mortality, and spending more time with those we love. I'm happy we arrived when we did as well. Mom! What is it, son? I think you need to go to the hospital. Barbara, my mom is in the hospital too. Oh, is she? When you reach our age, all types of things can happen. I think I must have disturbed a spider's nest when I had the neighbor trim back the tree from near my bedroom window. I had seen spiders before, but never this many. Emily, what's wrong with Grace? It's a long story. Maybe we can talk about it as we go to the hospital. It will be a shame for those spider bites to cause you to go into shock. coma, or to die. Stanley tried to speak to Emily, but Emily was completely involved in her one-on-one conversation with Barbara. Emily motioned toward Barbara to reach for her so she could help her up onto her feet. "I have her. Hold on to me, Mom." "Stanley, that's that lovely cat I was talking about. Where's my grandson? I've been so lucky to see you two a few times in the last 2 weeks, but not little Donald. Where's my archaeologist?" Emily teared up, and the sky rapidly turned a bluish-gray black mix with jagged-shaped clouds splitting and forming rapid and random ominous shapes. The sudden sky coloration shift was accompanied by high winds. "Oh my Donald, hold up." Barbara hardly noticed as her head began to whip about, but Stanley became keenly aware. While he appeared to be a steady force for his mom to rely on, he felt a sinking feeling inside. "Mom, inside the car, please." Everyone was seated in Barbara's car. Stanley ran back inside the house, past the spiders, to the kitchen, where his mother kept her keys in a cookie jar, and returned incident-free and started the car. Barbara sat in the front passenger seat. They pulled away from the cement-paved driveway onto the street's blacktop, and they departed. They were well on their way. Everyone was quiet to start when suddenly Barbara started chatting again. Apart from circumstances, she was excited to have both of her children, a son by birth and a daughter by marriage, with her. "Oh, Stanley, have you heard that your friend passed away? Such a terrible way to die. Cancer is such a terrible disease." Stanley did know, and he fought back tears that suddenly tried to obscure his vision. He, without thinking, turned on his windshield wipers to clear the front window and realized immediately after that the veiled view was his own eyes. He wiggled the tears to stay at bay. "Is that what they are saying happened to her?" "Yes, Mom. I know about it, and it breaks my very heart." From the back seat, Emily responded with a smile on her face that only Stanley could see through the rear view. In what appeared to be a cat and mouse game, she made sure that Stanley saw her and that Barbara did not. She spoke with a concerned and sincere tone in her voice. "It is sad. Why does it break your heart, Stanley? People die every day from cancer. How well did you know her? She's the one married to the judge, right?" "Yes, dear, we discussed it when you visited." "Stanley, Emily and I had such a lovely time when she came over." Barbara paused mid-thought, and she began to have a severe reaction, then spoke directly to her son. "Stanley, please hurry. I'm starting to feel lightheaded." Barbara passed out. Mom, are you okay?" Emily breathed heavily. "She's fine. Barbara may even live if you get her to the hospital in time. The venom that these spiders have is fatal in large doses if the patient is not provided medical care within 1.5 hours of contact. You have about 45 minutes left by my calculations and based on the number of spiders that bit her. It would be such a shame for this innocent mother-in-law of mine to die or go into a coma for the rest of her days. Barbara reminds me so much of my mother." Without a word, Stanley sped up. Hate filled his eyes as worry filled his heart. Hate toward Emily and worry for his mother's life. Stanley glared at Emily in the mirror. In spite of her obvious magical advantage over him, he summoned his most punishing head of household scowl toward her. "What has she done to deserve this? What did my mother do to deserve this, Stanley? Or our daughter, or our son?" Suddenly, a beam of light, of white energy, rushed from the sky and struck a tree in the distance. The tree landed onto a power cable. The tree's weight onto the cable caused the pole supporting power cable to shear and then fall and block the road. 45 minutes seemed like plenty of time. What we do now? Time is ticking away. Precious time is slipping away. Stanley doubled back, found an alternate route, and arrived with 10 minutes to spare. He described the spiders to the ER staff, provided them his mother's insurance information, and told the medical staff that his mother may have only 15 minutes to get the antidote before it would be too late. The emergency staff immediately took Barbara in. She was unresponsive but alive. Stanley walked in the direction of the doctors to trail his mother inside. Emily grabbed his hand and told Stanley that his twins needed him.